Right, shall we start? Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om. The kleshas that we looked at, the 5 kleshas, the primary klesha is avidya, means lack of knowledge, ignorance. That affects everything as all other kleshas. Like the ego, which is the next klesha, asmita, raga, dvesha, are all affected by that ignorance. So it's very important to know what ignorance is. Traditionally, in Vedanta, they say ignorance has an ending, but it doesn't have a beginning. But if it doesn't have a beginning, then you say, well, then how can it exist? So let's compare it to something else that might be more clear. Does darkness exist? Meaning, does darkness that we call darkness, does it have an energy of itself? If I want light, I can take a flashlight and turn on a light. Can you turn on darkness? It's lack of light. On our planet, what we experience at night as darkness is really the earth has turned away from the sun and you are on that dark half. Nothing has happened to the sun. Heat, light, sound, electricity, magnetism, gravitation, these are all forms of gravity. These are all forms of energy. Darkness doesn't have any energy like that. It is just lack of light. Okay? And even lack of light from our perspective, from human perspective. A lion can see in the darkness quite well. Don't go near a lion in the darkness thinking he can't see you. You will stop seeing completely. So darkness does not have energy of itself. Ignorance is something similar. Ignorance means I don't have knowledge. Just like there is no light, I don't have knowledge. If I don't know Andrea, if I've never met Andrea, then that is ignorance about Andrea. Anything that you don't know is considered ignorance about that thing. As soon as I know something, what happens to the ignorance? It's gone. And hopefully, if you remember what it is, it's gone permanently. Some people forget all the time, like I forget when I meet somebody, and now I have an excuse that I'm older, but I forget their name. Okay? Then there is ignorance about that name. I used to be able to go in a yoga class. There are 50 students in the class. Within a short time, I know everybody's name because I bothered about it. Now I don't. In fact, sometimes I wake up and say, what is my name? So ignorance about anything is just lack of information about that thing. It doesn't have an energy of itself. So when we say ignorance has no beginning, it has eternal beginning. It's always there until I know. And when I know, then that knowledge removes the ignorance. Okay. That part perhaps does not confuse too many students. There is another aspect which is rather comparable that confuses a lot of people. That is, see, if I look at a book like Bhagavad Gita, okay, Krishna basically advises Arjuna about what the right behavior is. In that book, he does not deal with deliberate bad actions created by somebody. He's not talking to Duryodhana. Nor is he telling anybody, you should not lie. Thou shalt not lie is a very good command, but that is not what Krishna talks about. He takes a good person, like Arjuna, who is confused. And the talk is to the good person who is confused. It is not to people who are of bad behavior. That's very important to recognize. So, if I tell you that, Larry, I went to the ocean and it was beautiful sunset. Is that true? Of course it's true. I went there, I witnessed the sunset, and that's what I'm telling. But it's not a fact. Fact is the earth rotated. Sun did not sink. There was no sunset, there is no sunrise. But that's how we talk. We talk of our experience, which is not incorrect. To say I went and saw sunset is a correct expression of my experience. But the fact is very different. And this often happens in life. There is a difference between truth and fact. I am an Indian. Somebody else is a European. Somebody else might be an African. Okay? When I talk about people like that or relate people that way, then what am I talking about? I'm not talking about human being. I'm talking about a race, a skin color actually, and nothing more. If only your skin color was different, you would be a different person? No. In talking about anger, which is what the homework was, to look at anger. Yeah. Somebody, one student, related his or her anger to me. But the way the student writes about it is the student had an anger. Now, in a way, that is excellent because what I hear, what I like to hear is a student is recognizing that he is a student who had an anger. He doesn't say, I had anger. If that is truly recognized, if that student who is writing that truly recognizes that nothing had happened to I, the student had an anger. You see what I'm saying? Okay. If the person who is writing that really truly recognizes, not using a fashionable way to write, but truly recognizes what he is writing, then what is he telling me? The student had an anger means that person is very clear that he is really a conscious being. Student is something that this interaction has created. In other words, if I consider reality, The student has no reality. The reality is the individual. But then that student continues to write and express his anger about something. And when I read that, I find you are angry. So don't use language like that as a fashionable statement. Okay, because then we can't talk about what's going on. Okay, if you realize you know me, right? Which means what? Which
We're
means there is
separate.
a name, Ramanan, by which you recognize this particular being. Where is that recognition? Do you really know me? What you know is an image in your mind. So I can say, in your mind, there is Ramanand consciousness. That's what you know. In fact, and this is a hard one, so be careful. The entire world that you know is a kind of consciousness in your mind. You don't know anything other than that. Okay. Meditate on that. That's a big one. Anything you say you know is, if you know this mat, mat consciousness is. If you know Donald Trump consciousness is. Anything that you say you know can be put in those words. And if you look carefully at that further, it comes to interesting conclusion. Moon consciousness is. Okay? Between moon consciousness and you, what is the distance? Zero. Between the moon and you, there is a big distance. But what you know about the moon, what you experience of the moon, what you talk about the moon, that moon in your consciousness, between that consciousness and you, there is no distance. Larry consciousness is in my mind. I know something about Larry. I conclude I know everything, but that's not true. I know something about Larry. That knowledge of Larry I have, that Larry consciousness is. Between me and Larry consciousness, what is the distance? Nothing. If you very thoroughly look at it and understand it, what it boils down to is there is no other person. There's only you and your consciousness. In fact, it is not your consciousness, it's the way your body reflects the consciousness. If this body dies, does the Ramanan consciousness in your mind die? Huh? Depends on what. You still know Ramanan.
Does that matter?
Yes, it matters, because if you forget it, then there is nothing. In fact, we do forget a lot of people that die. Okay? Some people we don't forget. But whatever I know of the person, if it remains in consciousness, if I'm conscious of that, then that person is alive. What about myself? Okay. When this body dies, it's called the jiva died. That is a Sanskrit word, jiva. It's called jiva or jivatma. The jiva died. Okay. What has happened to the consciousness? Nothing. That is called Atma. Nothing happens to Atma. And there are not several Atmas, like one Atma, second Atma, third Atma, fourth. Okay. There is only one Atma. The way different bodies reflect that may be different. Okay. In fact, take any person. Let's pick on Larry again. The way I know Larry, the way his wife knows him, the way his child knows him, the way Andrea knows him, are all different. Are there that many Larrys? Hope not. There is only one Larry. But variety of people have certain experience of Larry, and that's how they know him. How many Janets are there on this planet?
One.
One. Different people know Janet in different ways. In fact, she has many, many, many friends. Some friends she has, I know. Some I do not know. If I look at it, there are probably many more that I do not know. Because she is a popular person. She has many friends. Okay. The anger that you might have because of some event, okay, that anger hurts you. When we say the anger hurts you, if you don't have memory of that event, does it hurt you? The best way to deal with any hurt is what? Forget it. People do amazing things. They keep forgiving you. As long as they're forgiving you, they are still remembering that event. The real forgiveness happens when you forget the event. You can't create it, right? It happens.
Some people get upset.
Is their choice, right? They choose not to forget. If say even accidentally I have hurt somebody, we are walking, we are young college students, I push him just while playing, and he gets hurt. And I say, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. 20, 30 years go by. That person lives in another part of the world. We meet somewhere, accidentally, we say, oh, really? Wow. And I say, you know, the other day I pushed you and you fell and you got hurt. What should be his response? I had completely forgotten. You reminded me of that. Otherwise, my saying I'm sorry has no meaning. Sorry about what? He had already forgotten it.
Can you say, Ron, if, like, let's say, if someone is more in the present, they don't have to worry about it.
Stop. Little louder. It's being recorded.
You know, well, and resentment, like, oh, so and so did something to me, and I'm thinking about it. But if I decide, to do yoga and meditate and be present, I don't have to, like, it's not in my mind.
Yes. Now, if you see that it is always out of your mind, then it's not there. We have a very excellent example in Jesus Christ. When he was crucified, what were the last words? He did not say, I forgive you. What he said was, I'm paraphrasing it, but what he said was, Lord, they know not what they are doing. So God forgives you. And what he's saying in the process is that they don't recognize that by doing what they are doing, they may be hurting my physical body, but in reality, they are hurting themselves. They are creating bad karma for themselves. Now, Jesus was a very dynamic, very big figure, but we all can be little like Jesus. In a conversation, if necessary, something happens, you can say, I forgive you. Okay. But really, in your heart, say, may the Lord forgive you. Who are you to forgive? If I forgive you for something that you have done to me, then I keep remembering it. My position should be, this person is misbehaving because they are ignorant. Okay? And for that ignorance, I don't blame you. You are ignorant. Okay? But may the Lord forgive your behavior. So if you don't understand any of this, I forgive you. Because of the way the language is used, it's completely okay to say to somebody, I forgive you. Okay? But in your mind, in your heart, don't believe that. Okay? Recognize that whatever person, whatever thing they did that hurts you is done through ignorance. And when you get angry about something, remember just exactly that. You are angry about an event that is caused by some people, but they did that because they are ignorant. Okay? You don't even blame them. You say, these people are ignorant, that's why they did this. If you do that, it doesn't have a hold on you, right? It goes. Let's turn it around. Something happens, somebody tells me, Ramanand, I forgive you. What do I do with it?
Supposedly nothing, it shouldn't affect you either way.
Little more.
Well, forgiveness of someone should not be different on your life, whether or not they forgive you or not. It shouldn't affect you at all. Like,
But why?
well, because nothing happens to your consciousness, whether or not they holding still the grudge or not.
Little closer. If I know who I am, Ramanand is a label given to this body. I'm not Ramanand. As a jiva, I'm known as Ramanand. That's why I'm recognized. But really, I'm a conscious being. That's my reality. So when somebody says, Ramanand, I forgive you, my mind says, they don't know me. They are forgiving the memory in their mind that they have about this Ramanand. which I'm not. I'm not this body, I'm not this mind. I'm a conscious being, like everybody. That conscious being cannot be ever hurt because it is not subject to birth and death. If you will, to make it a little simple, it's an aspect of God.
By something someone does, have I kind of lapsed into ignorance?
Yes, if something happens and you get hurt, you are not recognizing two things. They cannot hurt you. They can hurt your body, they can hurt your mind, they can hurt your ego, but they cannot hurt you. But for that, you have to know who you are. If you conclude you are Karen, then you're stuck.
To stay connected to that knowing.
Yes, meditation, the intention is to drop all the ignorance that your mind has. The knowledge we have is useful for transactions, to deal with each other, to deal with the world. Okay? But that's not you. You does not need to deal with the world, the real you. When I say I got hurt, I'm saying this ego got hurt. What is ego? It's an image that the mind has made. First of all, let's say I'm a yoga teacher, which is not true. I'm a living being. Yoga teaching is something I'm doing. If I'm a beggar, I'm given to begging. Swami Dayananda is very clear on this. He says, don't call anybody a beggar. It's a human being that's given to begging for whatever reason. Okay? So Ramanand is given to teaching yoga. I'm a yoga teacher is your conclusion. And for our transaction, it is fine to say Ramanand is a yoga teacher. But if you ask Ramanand, are you a yoga teacher? It depends on who is asking. If a Vedanta student is asking me, are you a yoga teacher? I would say no. I'm a conscious being who is given this body, and the body is subject to teaching yoga. Doesn't make me a yoga teacher. I may be many things. To my son, I'm a father. To my brother, I'm a brother. To my sister also, I happen to be brother. To my nephew, I'm a uncle. Who am I? All of those labels given to Ramanand are labels for communication. Unfortunately, nobody says, perhaps they recognize, but nobody says, this is a conscious being. Even if I go to an ashram, Swami Dayananda doesn't say, this is a conscious being. He talks to me or about me, Ramanandji. So our human interaction is such that we give a label and then we relate to the consciousness by this label. Now, it's perfectly okay to do that, provided I don't forget that I'm talking about a conscious being. I've given them a label for convenience of communication. Okay? But you have to make conscious effort to do that. Because so many times your mind has repeated, this is Ramanand, this is Ramanand, this is Ramanand. Okay? That you have forgotten that it's a conscious being. And we not only do it with Ramanand, whom you meet occasionally, maybe once a week, but you do it with your spouse, who you meet every day. You begin to relate to the spouse by his name and perhaps by his body and a little bit by his mind, of which you know very little, but you don't relate to the person as a conscious being. There is a conscious being of whom you have certain memory. Trust me, and I think most of you are adult enough to agree with this. You do not know your spouse. You know some aspects about the spouse, okay, but you do not know them completely. You cannot. Your mind does not have that capacity unless you know them through enlightenment. If you know that, you are in the wrong class here. If I have a pain about something, I'm not talking of physical pain, psychological pain of hurt, not physically hurt, but somebody says, Raman, you're stupid. Yeah. I hear that, and my mind, if it is not trained, will turn that into a fact about the self. If somebody says, let's say I'm driving, I make a mistake, yeah, and the other person in the other car comes out and says, you're stupid, you don't know how to drive. Who gave you license? Yeah. He called me stupid. I turn it into what? I am stupid. What he's saying is, your driving is stupid. He doesn't know me. But what is said about my mind, I turn it into a fact about myself. Who is really stupid? But this happens all the time in life. Somebody gets angry about something, whether justified or not, and they say something about you. In our Indian language, people even say, you are so stupid that your mother must have been stupid and your father must have been stupid. They extend it to the whole family. Tu nahi tera baap bhi. And they don't even know my father. But the listener turns it into a fact, into something that is said about him. They cannot say anything about me. They don't know me. They can say something about my behavior. They can say something about uh, my interaction in some situation. They cannot say anything about the real Ramanand. They do not know real Ramanand. Now, what is the biggest reason why they don't know Ramanand? Of all the reasons, the biggest reason is Ramanand doesn't know Ramanand. If Ramanand is an enlightened being, completely clear about who he is, can anybody hurt him by saying something? Impossible. I don't know who Ramanand is. I keep forgetting that I'm a conscious being that is not hurtable. Yeah? I keep forgetting that. That's why I get hurt. Think about this carefully. There is no power in the world that can hurt you if you know who you are. No power. There has never been in the past. There is not one now. There will not be one in the future who can hurt you if you know who you are. Your body can be hurt. Somebody can hurt your body, but cannot hurt your consciousness. When somebody even appears to hurt you, as though hurt you, look at them and do what Jesus Christ did, which is, these people are ignorant. For that ignorance, I can't even blame them. Okay? Unfortunately, they are ignorant. Through their ignorance, they are behaving a particular way. May God forgive them. By what? Give them some knowledge. I can't give that knowledge to that person, obviously, unless they listen to me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6, 7 people came. And even I'm not sure I can convince this many people. But I can convince Andrea because I see her every day. If Andrea says something that makes me cry, I'm not crying out of hurt to my being. I'm crying because whatever she says makes me feel, makes my mind feel that I bothered her. But she cannot say you're stupid. Well, she can, but it will have no effect on me. Because I know I'm not stupid. Not as an ego saying I know, but knowledge is that I'm a conscious being. And in spite of her living with me, daily seeing me, she doesn't know me as this conscious being. Not out of any ill will on her part, but it requires lot of meditation, lot of education. Okay? By the time you are out of this room, you will forget this. And it's not your fault. The lie has been repeated by your mind so often. And it's a convenient lie in many situations. So you keep repeating that. To really, really see for your mind that you are a conscious being, which means you cannot be hurt. It is impossible. Whenever you are in pain, and I'm talking of psychological pain, you are forgetting that. Meaning your mind is forgetting that. If you remember who you are, nothing can hurt you. What is the very worst somebody can do to you? Kill you. Well, they can't kill the consciousness. That's not possible. If I think of myself as an ego, like I think of myself as a yoga teacher, somebody can definitely hurt me. They say, Ramana, you think you are a hotshot yoga teacher, but you know, so-and-so is better. That's all they have to do. Compare me to somebody else who might even not be better. But in their mind it is. And I'm validating their opinion. Why would I validate somebody else's opinion about me when I know that at best they can know a tiny little fraction of me? Even as a human being, they cannot know me completely. How many people do you know? Please don't answer. Just think about it. How many people do you know who know you completely? I'm not talking of Atma. I'm talking of you as a human being. How many people do you know that know you completely? Your spouse who loves you may be coming closest to it. Maybe your mother comes close to it. Your father, perhaps little close, but most people don't know you. They know part of you. Why would I give it any validity? Okay. If I give it validity, I am hurting myself. They cannot. If you truly understand what I'm talking about, there is no psychological pain possible for you. Never. If you forget this, the world will oblige you with tons of psychological pain. They love bothering you. You are asking about klesha?
always aware of that their consciousness.
Means they are not aware of who they are.
Get that through their relationships, like, oh, so-and-so likes me, or so-and-so.
I get it. That means that some kleshas have bothered them or continue to bother them, so they are not knowledgeable about who I am. Okay? That is what klesha is. Klesha means an infliction that bothers your mind, doesn't allow you to be enlightened. Enlightened means you are clear about who you are. I am a living being. Okay. Lots of things can happen to this body. Some I may like, some I may not like. But nothing is going to happen to this living being because it is not in anybody's power to do this. Unless they are so powerful that they can hurt God, which is impossible.
But that also doesn't mean that someone should stay in, let's say, abusive relationship because there's like, oh, you cannot hurt me, so but do your worst.
No, you are obligated to protect your body. If somebody is hurting your body, you remove yourself from the situation. Okay? That is responsible behavior. But they can hurt you physically. Psychologically, I'm said they cannot hurt you. Okay? So if somebody, let's say, constantly calls me stupid, you're good for nothing, whatever bad words they use. Okay? If they keep doing it, why do I expose myself to that person? Not that I hate them or anything, but I'm dealing with an ignorant person. And if I cannot redirect their energy, I better remove myself from that situation. So yes, remove yourself from those situations. Not out of hatred, not as a revenge, but because it's a waste of your time. All that time that is spent dealing with this kind of person should be spent on seeking enlightenment. When you are given a human birth, our philosophy is very, very clear about this. The biggest reason for having a human birth is to become enlightened. Means to really, truly understand who you are. In my life, I definitely remember when I was ignorant about all this. Then I learned something. It was purely academic knowledge. Slowly, as I began to meditate on it, it got better and better. Is my mind perfect today? No. There are situations which will bother me. But my ability to remember that whatever that situation is cannot hurt this real self is much better today than it was even yesterday. If I pay attention to this, slowly this knowledge becomes better and better and better. The very big thing to remember, if you are interested in it, is I was not born, I will not die. Because fear of death, what is called one of the kleshas, okay, abhinivesha, is a very big one. And even people who say, I'm not afraid of death, they're afraid of what they would lose as a result of death. They may not be afraid of death itself, but as a result, they will lose all their connection. That they are afraid of. Somebody who is a millionaire, has Donald Trump's money. What is his big fear? If he dies, I will lose all my money because I can't relate to the money. Even if I build a new Whitehall, I can't relate to it. There is something said about death that I like, so I'll share it. It says, When you are born, you come crying. Most children, when they're born, they cry. Yeah? When you are born, you come crying, while thousands are laughing because they're happy to see you born. Okay? Live your life in such a way that you go laughing while thousands cry. Someone like Mahatma Gandhi. When great saintly figure die, the world cries. While they go laughing. Laughing means there is a smile on their face. I've seen actual photographs of Gandhiji after he was shot. There's a smile on the face. If you live your life correctly by good values, okay, when death comes to the body, you will not show anger or any negative expression like that on the face. I haven't seen many people. I have seen a few people who were good people, okay, and I have never seen anything but a glow on their face. I've seen a couple of people that were not good people. There is agitation on their face when they die. Can't do anything about it, but that's what I have witnessed. Fortunately, I have not seen that many dead bodies. I don't want to see even. Because they are gone. Only the body is there. Right? To understand what we talked about. Okay? India, does anything hurt you? Mentally. Mentally, psychologically. You are a mother. Definitely something happens to your child, it hurts you. Okay? But it hurts you as a human being. As a consciousness, it cannot. But that requires study, that requires meditation to see that you are a conscious being. If you keep telling yourself, you are a mother, you are a mother, you are a mother, that's a good thing to do for interaction with your children. But from a much higher perspective, it is a little dangerous. You're a mother, you have responsibilities. Okay? Fulfill those. But don't get too hung up on the fact that you are a mother. Or any relationship you are in. You love somebody, they are your husband or wife. That should be the relationship. There is a responsibility. Fulfill that. But in the process, remember what we have talked today. Little different. Any object, any person, anything you know in this life, it has threefold limitation. Okay, everything has threefold limitation. One limitation is they're limited in space. Okay. You are here, you are not anywhere else in the universe. You're only here. That's one limitation. Space limitation, physical limitation. Second limitation is you are limited in time. You are here, not anywhere else. That's limitation of time also, time and space. There is a third limitation, what is called vastu in Sanskrit, means your beingness. As a human being, your beingness is limited. You can't fly like a bird. You can't even swim like other people swim, unless you're a good swimmer. Yeah, your asana practice also is limited. So there's threefold limitation. Atma, the real self, does not have any of those limitations. Why? Oh, because it's consciousness. Everything is in that consciousness. You can call it energy. I mean, that's another label for it. That energy called consciousness is expressed in wide variety of ways. A flower expresses it in one way. Now look at the flower. A beautiful flower, you like it, you say, wow, what a nice flower. What is that flower doing? Not consciously, because it doesn't have a mind, at least we don't think so. What is that flower expressing? By the very fact that it is natural flower, it is expressing consciousness. Be very careful with this explanation. Too many people, even good people, writing books like this. Okay? I will translate one here. This is my Guruji. There is a shloka here. I won't read the shloka, it won't have much meaning to you. But the translation is, the fluctuations of consciousness created by gross and subtle afflictions are to be silenced through meditation. The first thing that needs to be silenced through meditation is this idea that your consciousness can go through this. Nothing happens to consciousness. Cannot happen. He's talking about ego. But the word consciousness, unfortunately, we use both ways. I, as this limited being, I'm conscious. That's not the consciousness we talk about when we talk of this universal thing. It's unfortunate that not just English language, every language that I know of makes this confusion. The real being that is not born, that will not die, is the real consciousness. It being expressed as a human being is a different, is a very tiny part of it. But to be completely comfortable with that, because the mind makes mistake often, you have to keep repeating this to yourself by meditation or by some other means. The difficulty may be for some people, when you do that, when you keep repeating this, you cannot ignore your responsibility as a human being. That has to happen because that is part of the ignorance that is causing you to forget who you are. Okay? You have to fulfill those responsibilities so you have easier time to remember who you are. To say, I'm a consciousness, therefore I'm going to give up all my responsibilities. That is stupidity. That means you are not, you are not enlightened. You cannot run away and ignore your responsibility. If you become a monk and in a sense run away from society, okay, you are taking on much bigger responsibility. To become a monk doesn't mean you now have no responsibility. You have far bigger responsibility. Because now you are responsible for educating uneducated, ignorant masses. That is huge. Better to teach one child that you have. Don't take on the world. If you do, I would appreciate that. I would admire that. When you see a monk who is simply a beggar, then he's a beggar, he's not a monk. He pretends to be a monk. That's a different thing. There are tons of them in India, lots of them. But sometimes some appear to be a beggar like that, and they're not. They are enlightened being. Okay? I promised 6 classes, partly because what I did today is what I wanted to do. It required some background, so we went through that. Okay? But the real teaching is just what I have done today. If this is completely understood, you can enjoy the rest of the sutras. It's not necessary. You are done. But because you are not done, you need to study the sutras. Okay? Thank you. I have enjoyed doing this. God bless you. Now I have